Hey, is anybody out there watching the anime Two Car? Um, is anybody out there watching the anime Two Car and finding themselves really frustrated with it? Um, 'Cause I sure as hell am. This is a completely unplanned video. I just watched the latest episode. I literally just got done watching it. Um, and I've been just kind of passively watching it since the first episode. Haven't missed it, every week. And I finished this episode begging the question, why am I watching this shit? Yeah, that's I'm starting to wonder why I'm watching it, why I haven't dropped it. It's one of those things where I don't drop shows very easily. Usually, if a first episode really, does me wrong, really turns me off, I insta drop it. I don't usually pay heed to the whole 3 episode rule thing. It's very subjective, and I tend to know, per my own subjective tastes, when something is going to be working for me and when it isn't. But then there are shows that I'm just not sure, and that I find aspects that I do find intriguing, or I do find myself gravitating toward, and so I give it a shot. I give it an extra shot, and with the first episode of Two Car, it was one of those things where there were things that I could already see from a mile away were problematic, but I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and I decided to stick with it, and I decided to watch it. So now we're 5 episodes in, and every episode has been the same exact fucking scenario, nearly word for word, just with interchangeable characters, and because there is an overabundance of characters, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, that needle representing entertainment value. Literally every episode is hot spring chillin', sitting around a dinner table discussion about why we either get along or don't get along. The two main girls, the sort of, the ones who are in the poster are with the green and the white. I don't know any of their names because I don't fucking care. I haven't memorized any other names, any other team names, because I'm not invested in any of it. I've been trying to get invested. But the two pseudo main girls constantly bickering over the stupidest shit. Oh, the last 2 episodes, the one ate the other's pudding. And then, the other one got back at her by eating a candy bar or whatever the fuck it was. I don't even know. And they're just bickering. There's almost no focus on the sport. The Two-Car Kneeler affair, that was one of the most intriguing aspects to me in the first episode. That's what made me sort of intrigued with the premise, because I'd never heard of this sport before. I didn't even know if it was a genuine thing, and I come to find, yes, it is. But so they're always fucking fighting over the stupidest shit. And then, the second and third episodes focused on one of the teams who are fighting, and it's called into question, how do they get along? Why do they get along? How do they work as a team? They're going to break up, and then they get back together. Stretched over 2 episodes. Episodes 4 and 5, different team, same god-awful scenario. They fight, they're going to break up, sitting around the dinner table, how do they get along? How do they know each other? How did they first hook up? And why do they work together well or not? Then they get back together. Again, round table, dinner table discussions, analyzing all of this, cutting back and forth between the driver and the passenger. Each one of them are in different respective, sort of inns, one right next to each other, which subsequently the two main focused girls, the two green and white girls, you know, they are the daughters of inn owners, and their parents have inns right beside each other for some fucking reason. I guess it's like what you hear about, you know, there's a Starbucks on the east side of the street, and there's a Starbucks on the west. Which one are you going to go to? I don't go to Starbucks. I don't drink coffee. But I mean, you know, and then in the last two episodes, 4 and 5, they're focusing on the BDSM team. And they're doing this really fucking cliche thing that begins in episode 4, where the timid, you know, one who is being dominated of the two is having these dreams where she is the dominant one, where she's putting the usual dominant one in her place, making her subservient and punishing her and doing all this stuff. It's the BDSM imagery. It's like, obviously they're just for you know, fan service appeal, and it's not even like appealing. It's not even, you know, enticing in any way. Not that I usually find that stuff enticing anyway, but I mean, you know, it's just stupid. It's borderlining nauseating. And so she has a couple of dreams like that in episode 4. Then we begin episode 5. I literally thought I started episode 4 again, because it opens with the same exact fucking shot of handcuffs and tassels and things hanging off a wall. And the two of them, the usually subservient one is in the dominatrix outfit, and she's being demeaning and dismissive toward the one who's usually the dominant one. And so I was like, I stopped it. I had to check, like, wait a minute, is this the same fucking episode? Did they list episode 4 again as episode 5? So, no, I let it play a little more, and okay, well, this time it's the domineering one having the dreams of her subservient passenger being dominant in the dream. Again, like, just, it was pointless. And the whole thing ended on a cliffhanger at the end of episode 4, where she bitch slaps her subservient passenger partner because she had told her to ride with one of the other team. I think it was the two main girls. And so they swapped partners, and they took it out on the test track. Practice run. And that's all this show has been. Every episode's been a fucking practice run after a fucking practice run. Meaningless drivel. Meaningless driving drivel. And so then when her subservient partner got into the rhythm of it and enjoyed it, she got upset with her because she didn't give her permission to enjoy it. She told her to ride with the other girl, but she did not tell her she could have fun riding with the other girl. So they're going to break up over that. And then she's given all this supportive encouragement to go and lay down the law and talk back to the domineering partner, the driver, and she goes up to her and she apologizes, and then everything's fine between them. All she had to do was say she was sorry. Now, the thing that is so goddamned frustrating to me is when they get back out on the practice tour. You know, they get back to practicing. Now, the dominant and subservient one, they're not splitting up like they did in the last episode. They're going to ride together again as the team that they are, and they're going up against the two main girls, the green and white. And when they actually get on the track, it becomes palpable. Even if it's a practice run, it becomes palpable. Because now, both of the characters have evolved a little bit. They've had little mini arcs. And whereas the driver was usually pushing their course, their speed, and everything like that. Even to the point of inadvertently ramming her passenger's head with the helmet on into the guardrail in the previous episode. You know, they weren't working fluid. They weren't working as, a machine, a well-oiled machine. So she endangered the passenger, but then she got pissed off at the passenger, and that was part and parcel of why they would eventually split ways and have to come back together. But now that they've come back together and they've experienced this little, sort of, just fuck up in their having teamed up, having been a team, now that they've jumped over this hurdle, now the driver, the domineering one, is dialing it back a little bit out of fear. She's fearful for the life of the passenger. And the passenger, who is usually subservient, who is usually doing whatever is telegraphed by the driver, she is being more forceful. She is pushing the limits of how her body moves on the back of the vehicle. And it suddenly became intense because they're really riding the figurative rails. And suddenly they hit this corner and there are these like hawks or crows out on the highway, and they have to, like, they're going to go right into them, and an accident is about to happen. And if it were not for the subservient one becoming momentarily dominant as the passenger, maneuvering her body weight, they would have gone smack dab into these birds and crashed and probably likely wrecked the vehicle and died. But because of her quick moving actions becoming pseudo-dominant for a few brief seconds, she saved not only the vehicle but their lives as well. And that is what I thought this show was going to be from the get-go. That is what I want this show to be. It's what I thought it was going to be. It's what I hoped it was going to be. It's not anything like what it has been. It hasn't even been like slice of life, in a sense. I mean, kind of, sort of, cursorily. Everyone is tsundere with everyone else. It's all, female cast, tons of different characters that you couldn't give one fuck about. You don't know any of them, that kind of thing. You know them by their tropes. That's the only way they're recognizable. And you're not getting to know them. You don't care about them. They're constantly fighting, nauseatingly bickering, and just making every last hair on the back of your neck a frustration stand up on end. And then they inject fleeting moments like this, where the intensity is through the roof, where it becomes utmost engrossing and captivating and grabs you and doesn't let you go, and your eyes are peeled to the screen, and then it's over, and then it's back to the status fucking quo of the bickering, of the coyness, of the stupidness, of the cutting back. They've been cutting back and forth between this other team that I've been thoroughly confused about since the first episode, because they described that one of them was a cross-dresser. And they showed wedding rings. And I had to beg the question at the moment, because we only had fleeting glimpses of them. Is one male and dresses female, and it's a husband and wife? Or are they two women, and one of them dresses more predominantly in male clothing, and they're married? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I finally figured it out in this episode, because you actually saw that the one who seems to be the more, for lack of a better term, masculine out of the partnership actually has a chest, actually has chest endowments, has breasts. So I guess they are actually, like, the whole cast is all female. And I guess, my confusion was just out of that throwaway line that, oh, the one partner cross-dresses. I didn't know what that meant exactly. So I guess it's a lesbian couple. They are married, seemingly. But they keep cutting back to them sitting at, like, a bar. They're just, it's just them. And all they're doing is sort of, going back and forth, playfully, tongue-in-cheekly, what would otherwise be cute in any other sort of coupling scenario in any other anime. And it's just like, why are they doing this? They're just going back and forth verbally, kissing each other's asses, reminding each other why they love each other, but not in a straightforward way, not in like a, it's like cutesy, borderline, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Why are we cutting back to this occasionally? And in this episode, it almost got some high points from me, because they pull out this deck of psychic cards. The cards, like, if you've ever watched Ghostbusters, in the opening, like, 5 minutes of the film, Pete Venkman, Bill Murray's character, is trying to test ESP in both the mind of a young woman and the mind of a young afroed nerdy white guy, and he holds up the cards, and so there's like a square on the back of one, there's a star on the back of one, there's swirly lines, on the back of one, a circle on the back of one, that kind of thing, that kind of motif. And so the object is, somebody holds up the card, and you try to perceive it with your extrasensory perception what that card is. And so they decide to prove their deep connectivity, the love between them, the connection between them. They're going to test each other. And because they're using those cards, and I'm reminded of Ghostbusters, I'm like, oh, well, there's actually something to it this time. And it was mildly funny that, I guess the wife, they're both wives, if they're both women, but, the more feminine of the two, every card the other one holds up, she keeps saying star. It's a star. It's a star. It's a star. It's a star. Star is born. Starry sky. Starry night. Whatever. Every one of them is a star. And then the sort of masculine one, if you will, again, for lack of a better term, the husband in the two female pair is like, you keep saying everyone is a star. Why? Like calling it into question. And then the wife breaks down for like, I don't know why. It completely went over my head. And she's like, you ruined the mood. You dismissed the connection we really have. Huh? I don't get it. And then so they kind of make up, and then they pull one more card, and it's like a square or something like that. Or no, it's actually a star. Finally, it's actually a star. And she says square. And the ironic thing is, a full minute before they pulled the last card, and she guessed, oh, it's a square, when she's been saying star all the time. I thought it's a square, and it proved to be a square. Because here's the thing. The entire dynamic, the entire relationship, the entire characterization is fucking square. I don't know why I'm watching this show, apart from the fact that I'm 5 episodes into it, and I feel like dropping it now is the last thing I want to do, because I feel like I've committed myself to it. And at least for me, people don't always understand. Like, I'm open to recommendations when I don't have just a conglomeration of anime that I'm trying to keep caught up with every week. When I have free time, I'm open to recommendations of other shows and things like that. But I have allocated my time when I'm awake as rigidly as I can to keep up with a specific amount of episodes every day, whether that's review episodes or just episodes I watch passively. And I try my damnedest to stick with any show that I've gotten more than an episode into. Sometimes, but very rarely, I will put a show on hold and plan to come back to it. But the reason I don't do that for the most part is because of how rigidly allocated my time is. How I've peppered it out, how I've planned it out. Because I know I'm not going to have time, more often than not, to come back to something. I need to keep up with it on a weekly basis. Otherwise, I won't come back to it. It's very rare that I will be motivated to marathon a series. I have to be really, really into the concept, the genre, the characters, the art, for me to be able to marathon something anymore. That didn't always, be the case. That wasn't always the case. But it is now, and it has been for a long time. And it's just not easy for me, the way my mind works, the way I am. 5 episodes into this shit show that isn't giving me what I wanted out of it. It's just, as frustrating as it is, I don't feel like I can just cut it off. Because there is still, though it is few and far between and minute, almost imperceptible. There's still something to it that I get just barely out of it. And so, I don't even know where I'm going with this. The show fucking annoys me. It is annoying me to no end. It is a show that I should, for all intents and purposes, utterly scrap and find something better to watch, or just let that be a half an hour of my time that I free up every Saturday. But I'm not going to do that. I'm still going to watch it. But it's like I said at the top of the video, I just got done watching this episode, and I've watched all of them every week, and it's been the same fucking thing. The same beats, the same notes, over and over and over again. The only difference being swapping out which teams are in focus for that given episode, or in this case, which teams are in focus over the span of 2 episodes. And they're fighting, bickering, breaking up, talking that out, and eventually getting back together. No actual racing. No palpability, no tension. Except for a few fleeting moments. So I don't know. Anybody else out there watching this show and feeling this way? Let me know that in the comments below. And thanks for listening to my rant. I'll catch you later.